Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show special, the last special of this holiday series in which we cover Arsenal's potential dream signings for different areas of the team. We've already done forwards, we've done midfielders, and that leaves us with defence and, of course, goalkeeper. We assume backup goalkeeper, but who knows what these guys are going to say. So without further ado, we're going to jump straight into things. Please do make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I really hope you've appreciated the work that's gone into creating and editing and putting together this content for you whilst I am indeed away on holiday. I hope that I've been on good form, if indeed I've still done those 8 a.m. videos. I hope I do. That certainly was my intention. So unless there's been some chaos in the Wi-Fi or the uploading or something, the plan was to do it. So I hope that I have done. But there's no way of knowing because I sit here ahead of that holiday. But if you have enjoyed the series, thank you for listening. If you've not watched any of them yet, make sure you go back and watch the episodes on the forwards and, of course, on the midfielders. And welcome to the episode on defenders and goalkeepers. I'll start with goalkeeper because I think it's a really difficult position. I argue that it's arguably the most difficult position to fill in the squad. Backup goalkeeper is a thankless task. It is not a position that you want to necessarily fill in a squad unless you've reached a certain point in your career or maybe you're right at the start of your career. But Arsenal will certainly need a backup goalkeeper with Aaron Ramsdale looking like he's leaving. And we need to look at one of two options. The first option is a youngster, one that's got loads of potential, can come in. We invest in them. Maybe they could even overtake Raya in the future. The other option, older goalkeeper, someone with more experience, someone who's maybe of a similar age to Raya even. Justin Bilo has, of course, been mentioned of final, but that's gone a little bit quiet recently, unless, of course, I'm saying this and now we've signed him by now. That can always happen when you pre-record content, of course. But what's interesting about the goalkeeper position is that we need someone that fits Arteta's profile. And Bilo seemed to be one of those guys that had the collection of crosses that Arteta loves and still has a relatively decent level of distribution and shot stopping as well. Defense-wise, do we need a right back? I don't think so. I think we've got quite a lot. I think we've got Timber, we've got White, and that might be enough. But that said, it still could be something in terms of right back. Kimmich, as I mentioned, for the midfielder, could be a really good versatile option that gives us depth there. It seems like the left-hand side is more of the intention from Arsenal with Ural Hato being linked, but he's come out and said that he's most likely staying. So who would you therefore go for at left back? It's a very difficult one, I think, to come up with one off the top of my head even, and I've been thinking about who I would sign on that left-hand side. Fans say Grimaldo after his fantastic season at Leverkusen, but he's more of a wing-back. We don't really play that type of position. We've been linked with Faye of Barcelona. I can't say I've seen too much of him, but bringing in someone who's got that versatility to play as a left-sided centre-half, but also as a left-back as well, seems to be the profile that Arsenal want. But if Zinchenko is going to go, are we going to want someone who's perhaps got that ability to play? Is a Ferdi Kaliolu, for instance, of Fenerbahce, the right player? I think he's got all the versatility and the technical ability to play that role, but whether or not he's the right guy remains to be seen. I wonder who our contributors will suggest. Speaking of which, let's not waste any more time and let's let them steal the show.
Hey Tom and all the Gooner Talk watchers and listeners. This is Clive from, I suppose, the Arsenal Vision podcast and a few other bits and pieces. As you guys know who listen to me on various shows, this transfer window is the real season. So Tom's asked us to do a few bits and pieces regarding certain players that we'd like to see or maybe that we just like. And I think sometimes we go through this part of the year just saying what you like and seeing if it fits is really good. And there's a saying, you can't help who you fall in love with, right? So I fall in love with players every day. So let's start with defenders and goalkeepers, should we? So goalkeepers, I'm going to give two names that I just like. I've seen one of them play live, one I haven't. One I have seen play live that potentially could be on offer is Jason Steele at Brighton. Like, I've seen him play against us and he was really calm and really good. At a time when I didn't really understand the build-up like we do now with Raya, I couldn't see the differences. I could see differences, but I now understand the value of the differences. I think we can all say, with a bit more experience of watching the team, how much calmer we look when basically we have a goalkeeper that's like an extra footballer. When the ball comes into him, all our heart rates drop, and it makes a difference. Having an extra player is no bad thing in football when your tactics is mostly about overloading and finding the spare man. If your spare man starts in the back, you got a chance. So Jason still does that. And look, I know there's been a lot of other goalkeepers think. There's one that I like, just that I've seen. We may have been linked with him slightly, and I think, you look better. You look quite good to me. He's the Ajax goalkeeper, Deant Ramaj. And again, pure YouTube for me. Not seen him in a live game where he stood out, but he's very rare, light of his feet. But I do think one thing that may let him down potentially is his ability to take crosses, and I think cross and shot prevention by taking crosses, I think is very important, and that's where maybe the PSV goalkeeper is slightly ahead of him. But that's my thoughts on goalkeepers. Defenders, okay, tough one, right? There's a couple of options. Depends what happens, who's going out the door. I think there's a feeling with me anyway that Zinchenko offers a lot of good things, but I think a lot of good things that Jorginho offers for us currently at the base of our team. And I do see a level of redundancy there with Zinchenko. Because when he plays left back, he doesn't play left back in the way that we understand it. He plays far more as a midfielder, and he overloads in there, and he's very smart, and he gets out to left back. And in 7 out of 10 games, we dominate, but teams know where to go. So where a team goes is really your weakness, so, and I just think he's showing a little bit of weakness. I don't think he's playing bad. He's just showing weakness because he's not a true defender. And I think I prefer Arsenal with our defensive solidity in place, so we give a team absolutely no encouragement. So for me, I think potentially a left-footed defender could come in. And everyone's talking about Ato. I'm not so sure. He looks sharp. He's about a 6'8". He goes to the ground a lot. He's very quick, very progressive. I just got a funny feeling he's going to stay. So, a player that, again, is what you like. It's what you like. I feel Arsenal need to add a level of unpredictability and energy in our team. What I felt this year was we lost a little bit of heart and power and pace off the bench. We went to our bench in the big games like Bayern Munich. We bring on players that I think slowed us down or made us not as strong as we were when we started the game. So I'm looking for energy, and I like the guy at Fenerbahce, Ferdi Kadioglu, who I think could be a wing cover and a midfield cover and a fullback cover. Again, we're looking to optimise our squad because we are playing by the rules. Not everyone else is. We are playing by the rules. And so to optimise our squad, a play like that, I think would be quite nice. I also feel that, there is a player called, I've forgotten his name, sorry, Diamande, sorry. He looks like a strong player that I have seen live. And you look at him and think, okay, if we can add another dominant player that we all feel comfortable with, potentially we can go to a 3 at the back. And I see that as a potential development opportunity. A pure Johan Cruyff, back 4 diamond with Rice in front, and have another diamond in midfield. So you have 2 diamonds, and that's the way to potentially to go. So look at Johan Cruyff systems. Ronald Koeman was his guy at the base, and I think Diamande has potential to play in the right sides and central centre back, and that's where I think we have a little bit of a weakness. So that's my goalkeepers, and that's my defenders.
To be honest with you, Tom, in relation to a goalie, I'm probably the worst person to ask, bro. I don't have any specific names on a backup goalie. As you know yourself, it's a delicate scenario in that, you don't want that number 2 goalie to arrive at Arsenal Football Club and necessarily be accepting of the number 2, even though it's abundantly clear David Raya is the top goalie. You want him to kind of steal that shirt or be competitive, really and truly. And, if there's any drop in form with Raya, knowing that he can take that spot. But I think it's fair to say, as long as we get one of these kind of modern day goalies, someone that's similar to Raya in the sense of, they're good with their feet, their passing is great, they're quite composed and calm in situations like that. As we both know ourselves, in the modern day, our first defender is the striker. So that would be Kai Havertz at this moment in time. And the goalie is our first attacker. He initiates play. Raya gets a lot of credit, but I don't really think people understand what he does for the team, really, especially when he's almost like a centre-back in possession for Arsenal, offering a passing outlet. So I would just want someone in that regards. If you could find someone not necessarily of the name, but for me, maybe like Ortega of Man City, because they've got Edison clearly the number one, and Ortega's a competent number two. I know he's made mistakes, but that would be my suggestion. I'm sorry, I can't say any
For the
names.
backup goalkeeper, I'm looking at someone who we genuinely feel comfortable playing in the cups. Someone who is good with the ball at their feet, is going to command their area pretty well. But I kind of think that's going to have to come a bit of a cost for this player, because unfortunately, when we've gone for a Runnison or a Matt Turner, we've had to replace them within 6 months to a year anyway, because they've not been good enough. The linked players are returned for Matt Ryan, I think there was, Justin Bilo, Jason Steele. I mean, Jason Steele's brilliant on the ball, but how good is he at everything else? Justin Bilo, purely because Football Manager tells me he's good. I'd go get him, but it's probably going to cost you 15 million. Can he be competitive with Ryan? Maybe that will keep him on his toes, who knows? But that's what I'd go for as a backup goalkeeper. In defence, I like the Joel Hato links. I like them because I actually think we can get a teenage profile at the back. Someone who's going to grow and slowly mature into that position, who I think is still up for debate whether he's going to be a left back or a centre back long term, but he fits the bill perfectly in terms of having the height and presence that our defenders typically have, being left footed, which we need out at left back with Timber and Tomiyasu having played there quite a lot. Well, Timber meant to play there quite a lot. But he's good on the ball as well, and he comes out of the Ajax Academy. He's definitely a class act. And he wouldn't be expecting to play all the time, but talented enough to play when needed.
In terms of the goalkeeper, I think it's obvious Aaron Ramsdale will leave this summer, so it means we need somebody to play second fiddle to David Raya. I think beyond the obvious things you need from your goalkeeper, good hands and somebody who is capable of dominating their area, in this particular Arsenal team, we definitely need a player or a goalkeeper who can play with his feet. I think that will be a big consideration. I know we've been linked with the guy from Feyenoord. I'm not sure if he's the guy, but certainly that would be, in terms of the traits that you would want from a goalkeeper, good with his hands, but has to be good with his feet to play in this team, because otherwise, there's too much of a drop-off or too much of a change if Raya isn't available. As for defenders, we're pretty well stocked. What I would like to see is a left back. I'd like to see I don't know if a left-sided Ben White is quite what we're looking for, but I think we need a number one left back. I don't know who that is going to be. I don't know who's out there on the market. I'm sure that Mikel Arteta and Edu have got a list of names, but I'd like somebody who could come in and be pretty much a sure thing in that left back position. Then we do have players like Tomiyasu, maybe Kivior, even Zinchenko if he stays, and Jurriën Timber as well can play on that side. I think we'll be well stocked, but looking for somebody who can come in and really cement the left back position as their own.
Tom, when you talk about dream signings, could I have Alessandro Bastoni? Ruben Diaz maybe? Even Mateus de Ligt? Unlikely, I know. But we need players who are going to come in and be as world-class as they can be. If we're chasing Manchester City, we need players who are going to come in and have the almost same talent as a Saliba, as a Gabriel, as a Jurriën Timber, or as a Benjamin White. And also Premier League experience, I think, is going to matter. We need to take progress to success now. So the players that we need to bring in, it can't be, players learning on the job. We don't know what's going to happen at Manchester City. There's a lot going on there right now. Nathan Ake, he comes with a great experience and I think has proven and shown after not being given opportunities and not being able to start as often, has really proven to be a great defender. And I think somebody like Mikel Arteta can maybe entice players he's worked with before to come over to the Emirates. João Cancelo, I know that this is maybe a polarizing conversation for a few, but you just don't become a crap player overnight. Cancelo, to me, can still offer a lot. Personality-wise, I think that's exactly the issue that's maybe dragged a little bit of his career down over the last year. But if anyone can resurrect that, is someone, I think, like Mikel Arteta. And if you want to go a little extra dreamer, we don't know what's going to happen at Liverpool. And I know that nobody thought that he deserved to be Defender of the Year or if he was on the list. But Virgil van Dijk is a quality class player. And I think that he would not only add leadership in the dressing room, but when you're talking about a push for a title and trophies, he's definitely a player that can lead and knows and has been there before. There you have it. Okay, Tom, so here we go with left backs. We don't know how Jurrien Timber's going to come back from his injury, but from what we saw in that last game of the season, he looks like he's raring and ready to go, and that any talent he had has not evaded him since he went down at the start of the season, and who knows what kind of season we could have had. So I think we need some insurance. Zinchenko has been unreliable in defence. Kivior, I'm not sure, is the guy moving this team forward into a winning situation, i.e. trophies. And of course, Tomiyasu can play there, but he's a little bit injury prone. I like Alphonso Davies from Bayern Munich. What a wonder goal he scored in the Champions League. He's done that time and time again, and he's just a powerful player who I think can make a massive difference to our team. Grimaldo from Bayer Leverkusen, what a season he had, absolutely bombing it down that wing, and such a good, huge kind of impact that he had for that legendary team now in Bundesliga. I like him a lot. And here's a curveball for you. We don't know what's going to go on at Liverpool. They have a new manager. Who knows how everyone's going to kind of settle in with a new voice in the changing room. So there's a couple of players I'd like to poach. The first one would be Andy Robertson. Comes prepared with Premier League experience, has done it all and won it all. Great competitor, mature, and a player, I think, that could have a huge impact in the dressing room. Those would be my dream left-back signings. Goalkeepers. You said dream, right? So why not dream about Ederson? Some say he might be ready to leave Manchester City. Hell, that whole team might be ready to leave, considering what's going on. So Ederson would be the dream signing, and he knows Mikel Arteta. Another dream signing would be Oblak, consistent, maybe not so much this season, but a goalkeeper matures like a fine wine, and in Oblak I would trust. And here's a curveball for you. Yes, he's 41 years old, but he's played at the highest level for many, many years. And if we're looking for a backup, and you want someone to come in with that experience, Pepe Reina. I can feel the responses coming at me right now.
So, dream defenders, it's an interesting one, I think. I'm not massively of the opinion that Arsenal need a defender this summer, but if we're talking dream defenders, I think when you look at the way Arsenal's defence is right now, you look at Ben White, Gabriel, Saliba, you don't really need to tinker with anything there. The left-back position, obviously, could be a position that Arsenal could look to strengthen. Got some good options in Kivior, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Timber. Of course, a bit of an unknown quantity with him coming back. But if I had to pick one, obviously you're looking at a sort of Alphonso Davies, comes in, fantastic talent, so fast, can be a threat down that left-hand side. I don't overly think Arsenal need that type of left-back, especially if Ben White is going to be playing as a sort of inverted right-back from next season. We'll wait and see what Mikel Arteta does with that. But I think you'd probably choose a Alphonso Davies. I like the idea of Jurrien Hato as well from Ajax, especially as he's that player who can play as a left-back or as the left-sided centre-back. Mikel, we know, loves that sort of versatility in defenders. Arsenal very much interested in Jurrien Hato as well. And he does tick a lot of the boxes when you look at his age, his profile. And that would be one that I'd be very much on board with as well. So take your pick, really. Alphonso Davies for your big sort of dream-like, big-name signing who could come in and certainly excite the fan base. But I think probably a more sensible one, Jurrien Hato. Looking at the sort of backup goalkeeper option, I think Lucas Fabianski's a really good shout. Ticks all the boxes, knows the club, counts as a homegrown player as well. Will come in, you think, would probably be quite happy to be that backup goalkeeper, but has the experience, has the quality in the Premier League as well. I think he would be a really good option if, as we expect, Aaron Ramsdale moves on and Arsenal need to bring in a backup goalkeeper to David Raya.
I'm Gooner Salt Watchers. This is my dream window for the goalkeeper position and the defenders. So, I think I have a thing about the Ramsdale thing in that people say, well, Ramsdale's going to leave. And I'm like, well, unless we can improve that position, we're nice, soft Arsenal fans. If we're at Real Madrid, if we're at Bayern Munich, the clubs we're trying to compete with, by the way, we're just saying, well, you signed the contract, mate, so you stay around. And while I have personal empathy with Ramsdale and I like him as a character, I also do think if we can't improve in that position, we don't have to sell Ramsdale. I've seen people say, we've got to sell Ramsdale and we've tanked the assets, we've got to accept 15, 20 million for him. No, just don't sell him. Don't sell him for anything undervalued. And, if we, someone puts in a good offer, if Newcastle come in 30 million, 40 million for him, then fantastic. But, I'm not accepting a homegrown future England number one, who was our number one, by the way, in a title race last season, and did pretty well. You know, made a few mistakes, but he was 24 or 25 or whatever he was at the time, and you know, letting that go for £50 million when he's on okay wages, when he's, you know, there's such a ceiling there. And I don't look around at the goalkeeping market and go, there's loads of, you know, brilliant young goalkeepers. So keeping Ramsdale is really a possibility for me. I think what I'd say is if he does go, if we get a good price for him, obviously we've looked at Justin Bijlow or Bijlow, whatever his name is. I think there's a guy at Las Palmas, Alex something, I can't remember his name is. To be honest, I haven't watched any of these keepers. I mainly trust Iñaki and Mikel to choose the goalkeepers, because other than Runarsson, they've been pretty good. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy for them to choose. But yeah, my main feeling about it is we were all going, well, Ramsdale's going to go, and I'm like, well, we don't have to sell him. It's not a prerequisite. So that's how I feel about the goalkeepers. In terms of the defenders, interesting one. I think we currently need one. It will depend on sales. It will depend on how we approach the market. I do feel Zinchenko probably, if you get a good offer, you probably take that, and that might mean you need another big signing on the left-hand side. But I look at the right-hand side, and I just look at if Saliba drops out, you know, you can maybe play Declan Rice in there, but, you know, have we got the numbers in midfield and whatever? And, you know, Ben White, and then an unavailable, you know, Tomiyasu, who played more minutes nearly played more minutes for Japan than he did for Arsenal last season. So, yeah, I think the right side looks a little bit weak for me. I know Timber can play there as well, but, you know, it looks like we want to use him on the left. So, yeah, I think we need one more profile. I'm not sure Jarell Hato is ready to come in. I don't like the talk about selling Kivior. It's very easy to, you know, on the one hand say, well, we need squad players and we need players who can come in and do a job when the first teamers aren't fit, and then we all want to sell them. It's like, well, you can't have both. So, yeah, I think for me, in terms of actual profiles, Diamonde at Sporting has been spoken about a lot. I really like him. There is an opportunity on the market for Alphonso Davies, by the way, who I don't think Real Madrid are looking at. And if we can go and do that, that's probably the only overlapping left back I look at in the world that I go, you can only really do that, but because you can also cover on the right hand side, and because you're so good at that, I'd be willing to take a look at that, especially for the price it could potentially be. So that's exciting. But yeah, I think the right side of our defence I look at and I'm concerned with. The left hand side, you've got, you know, Timber, Gabriel, Kivior, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu. I think you've got numbers over there, but on the right it's just looking a little bit weak because Cedric's left. So there you go.
Big up, people. Stan Potts here from Football's 12th Man. Hope you're well. Big up to Tom. Big up to Gooner Talk TV. Make sure you like and subscribe. Goalkeepers, defenders, interesting. This is a massively unpopular opinion, which wouldn't be right if it wasn't me. My number one, Diogo Costa. Go and get number one. Make David Raya the number two. For me, I have problems. I know we got the Golden Glove, but I still have issues. I'll tell you why I have issues. I see mistakes. I don't feel 100% comfortable, and I'm not so sure that he's an Edison or Alisson level. So go get Diogo Costa. Number two, Jan Oblak. Apparently there's rumours he wants to leave Atletico Madrid. Go get him. Number three, Michael Maignan, AC Milan. Go get him. One of those three has to come in for me. If we're going to keep Raya as number one, which I think we will, then I'll go and get somebody like Wojciech Szczesny, or a backup goalkeeper that we look at and know is a backup. None of this, oh, he might be number one, he might not be. You know who your number one is if you go and get Diogo Costa, Michael Maignan, or Jan Oblak. So that'll be the goalkeeping situation. More than likely, we're going to get a backup that no one's really heard of, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking at doing. I'd rather get a backup that's got experience like Wojciech Szczesny, so that's why I'll go for him. In defence, we need a right-sided centre-back. We need somebody like Diamande, somebody like Jared Branthwaite, somebody who's actually going to be young and grow with the team, that can come in and definitely be fighting for his place with Saliba. Saliba gets injured, I don't have faith in Ben White or Tomiyasu 100% as centre-back. I think that's what we lack. I think that's what we need. So for me, that would be my dream goalkeeper situation and my dream goalkeeper and defence combined situation.
From a defensive perspective, I think we got very lucky this year with being able to play Saliba every single game along with Gabriel. We need some sort of cover in that position. You know, I lie awake at night thinking, what's going to happen if Saliba gets injured. So I don't know if there's a player out there or who Arteta would be looking at, but for me that would probably be either the number 1 or number 2 priority for Arsenal. Otherwise, that centre-back positioning looks brilliant as long as they're not injured. I'd also, I think, look at perhaps a deputy for Ben White. Obviously, we've got Tomiyasu, who can play there and has signed a new contract, but whether there is someone who could essentially come in and just be that backup, who might play in some of the cup games. So we still need a player that can, achieve the standards that we're looking for, but ultimately good enough to give Ben White a bit of a rest. Again, he's played a lot of football, and I think a lot of it was playing with an injury. From a goalkeeping perspective, I assume Raya will be made permanent, which is absolutely the right decision, and that Ramsdale will be off. So that sort of second position is open. Could be anyone. Can't say I'm particularly knowing of goalkeepers who could fill that position. I guess my assessment will be either Arteta brings in someone a bit more experienced who would be a safe pair of hands, no pun intended, that ultimately is going to help us, particularly in those cup runs where we were pretty poor this year. So someone who is maybe towards the end of their career but is still kind of hungry for that success. And then I think our third keeper is a young guy who's got a few international caps. So that would be an ideal lineup for me, someone a little bit more experienced. But at the same time, Raya is integral to how Arsenal play and how Arsenal attack. So I don't think Arteta is willing to just settle for a kind of very old-fashioned goalkeeper. He'll still want someone who can fit into that counter-attacking style that Raya is so important for. So whether there's a keeper out there who is a little bit younger and more attuned to the style that Raya plays, I'm not sure, but I would assume Arsenal go in for someone to fill that second position, assuming we get rid of Ramsdale.
A massive thank you, of course, to our contributors for once again providing their expert insight into who they would like, if indeed. Maybe they said a load of rubbish. I have no idea. I'm pre-recording this. I haven't seen what they've said yet. They could have been saying things like, I don't know, let's bring in some ex-Spurs players. They probably weren't, but I'm sure they've been absolutely fantastic. And speaking of which, as this being the last episode, I do want to send a even bigger thank you to all of the contributors, of course, that joined in. I left the links to all of their socials in the video, I think, if I was on it with my editing skills post production. So make sure you go and give them plenty of thanks and credit for their contributions to this show. I'm saying this vaguely because I sent all the messages out and I'm hoping that we've got as many people on this as well, but I don't actually know the full lineup as I record this and as I've put this out. So as I've edited this, I'm like, oh, we got them. So let's wait and see as to your reaction. But I hope you've enjoyed this series. I hope you appreciate the work that's gone into this, whilst indeed I've been on holiday, or before I've been on holiday, but you know what I mean. And the usual scheduled programming will return with consistent 8 a.m. live shows covering the rest of the transfer window and going into, of course, the European Championships. Maybe the European Championships have even started by now as I put this out. But thank you to all of you that have indeed enjoyed it. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.